Find out on the cloud. But if you have any,
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is our CF Online Festival, and we are so grateful for Alex Shadle for coming and introducing our teaching culture and talking about how we can implement that. Just a real quick introduction of Alexander Shadle. She began dancing at age 2. She graduated from Brigham Young University, where she toured locally and internationally with the BYU International Folk Dance Ensemble. After college, she worked as the head of the dance department of San Roque School in Santa Barbara, where she created a multi-genre dance curriculum and directed multiple school-wide music and dance performances. Alexandra continued to teach and choreograph with youth performing companies such as Galena Street East and Take Note Troupe. She piloted a cultural dance workshop program at Sierra Elementary School in the VAPA program. Alexandra was recently appointed to the position of Arts Commissioner for the City of Rockland, and she founded the American Dance Arts Collective in 2021 with the dream of spreading peace through dance and giving children in her community the unique opportunity to learn about the world through cultural and historical dance and music. We welcome Alexandra Shadle and turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much, Jillian. I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm really excited to be able to connect with our CF presidency and CF youth, and I hope this is really helpful. So let me share my presentation, and we'll get started. Okay, everyone can see it? Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to talk about implementing culture and just some best practices for sharing cultural dance. But first, I'm going to just give you a little bit about me and my origin story and what I'm doing here. Jillian did a great job on the introduction. So I first started to fall in love with folk dance when I was a child. I performed with Galena Street East, and the director, Jerry Klinger, would bring in specialists. So I did some Scottish dancing and Irish dancing and hula dancing, just a little taste. And I really liked it. That's where I met Gary Larson and Mindy. And so starting at age 12, I just wanted to be just like them when I grew up and go to BYU. And I have been dancing my whole life, but I just really fell in love with folk dance in college, and just have always had the desire since then to be able to share this beautiful art form with youth, especially because it really changed my life. And I've since then just felt a really strong obligation and debt of gratitude from my BYU education and experiences to be able to share what I've learned in my community. So there's just some fun pictures. I have a little bit about me personally. I'm married. I have 5 kiddos. I have danced through all my pregnancies and with babies on my hip and nursing babies. My last kiddos are twins. So I started IDAC, which is the sister organization or parent organization of ADAC. So IDAC stands for International Dance Arts Collective. My twins were about 18 months, and I just felt a strong pull to start something where I could teach peace through dance in my community. I just felt like I had been given a lot of education and teaching, and I wanted to share that with kids. So I started in my basement dance studio that I made with a baby or 2 babies on my hip and just like 4 or 5 students that were my daughter's friends. And it's grown from there. Now we are about to have our 5th Festivals of Light. That's our annual holiday show. We have 74 students. And this year we've taught about 1,500 students in the public school system. So just a little bit about IDAC and ADAC. We have our charitable mission is to promote and preserve cultural dance, and then also to promote peace through dance. So those are 2 main missions, and we have 2 types of programs that accomplish those missions. So the first is a studio-based program. We teach clogging and cultural dance classes for kids and adults. We also have African drumming. When we have enough enrollment and desire, we have a folk music class. And it runs kind of like a normal studio. The main difference is that we are really values focused and focused on our mission to really safeguard and promote culture and living traditions. And because we are a nonprofit or charity, the goal isn't to make as many dollars as possible, but really to serve as many as possible. So we have lots of students who are on scholarships of varying levels, and that allows more kids in our community to experience the life-changing nature, I think, of cultural dance. The hashtag we use at IDAC and ADAC is Peace Through Dance. So I hope that maybe you'll be inspired to use this hashtag when you have some Peace Through Dance moments. So we teach the kids and adults in our community, peace starts with you and your heart, and dance, especially cultural dance for me, gives me the opportunity to be present with myself, with the music, and with others. And that's like a seed of peace. And as we have that peace in our own selves, then we can share it with our teams, our families, our communities. So if you are inspired by this, use Peace Through Dance when you are sharing about Peace Through Dance moments in your own life. These pictures are some Peace Through Dance moments from our ADAC tour this year to Romania. We were so grateful to participate in a festival in Romania, and one little Peace Through Dance story that I want to share. You can see in the upper left-hand corner all the girls putting their hands in, sharing bracelets. This was right after our tech rehearsal, so all the teams were going to the stage to have a tech rehearsal. Everyone was a little bit shy. The teams, no one spoke the same language. We're all a little bit checking each other out. And spontaneously, one group of boys starts doing some slapping. I think the Romanian or I have a student here. Who are the boys that first started the slapping?
No.
But
it was Spain.
Yeah, the Spanish boys from Basque Country start just like slapping and showing off. So then our boys got really excited. They started showing their ham bones. We had a mini dance battle. And then the drummer from Basque Country just starts drumming. And all of a sudden, all the Basque Country kids just join hands and start pulling our team and other teams into this long line of people. So it was just really so special to see that we hadn't met. We hadn't even really said hello. But the music kind of allowed us to all just hold hands together and be a community without sharing really much in common, but the dance gave us that opportunity. So that's my little Peace Through Dance moment story for you today. And yeah, if you have one to share, we'd love for you to share with us using this hashtag. So I am curious, this is being recorded, so I won't get real-time feedback, but my question is, who are you? Do you feel that you're a culture bearer, a dancer, a dance educator, choreographer, director, teacher? I'm hoping that if you are a dancer or you're a youth, that you also might think of yourself as a future teacher or an emerging teacher, or in both columns, because having the gift of cultural dance in your life, I hope that you will share it. So I hope that all of us, even if we don't consider ourselves to be a choreographer or director, we have a really great opportunity to use this gift and our talents this way to make an impact in our community. And peace is really what we need, so we can use our talents that way. So first thing, what is culture? I asked the internet, and this is what Webster told me. And there's several more definitions. These are the ones that spoke to me most, and I love how it says the integrated pattern of human knowledge, belief, and behavior that depends upon the capacity for learning and transmitting knowledge to succeeding generations. So I think what's so cool about that is that we have the ability to change culture by the way we transmit knowledge. And so as teachers and educators, we have a duty and the power to change the culture around us. So that just is so powerful to me. And we are the ones who need to share the stories of our ancestors and others' ancestors, and use our voices to advocate for people and for cultures and even vulnerable groups. I'm gonna let Maggie in. Hi, Maggie. And please feel free to join in the conversation. I would love if you have a comment or a question just shout it on out or write it in the chat, and maybe Tana will tell me if I miss a chat. Okay, so the first thing, so here I just want to talk about how to prepare. So this is kind of what goes through my mind when I'm either teaching a class or starting a new type of program. So this is my cute student, Avila. I'm reading a book called The Art of Gathering, and it has kind of remarkable tie-ins with cultural dance, because as cultural dance educators, we are constantly gathering people. And this book, it's talking more about like parties and dinner parties or any type of gathering. I'm gonna have my cute IDAC family is here with me. So we're all together, and they haven't seen my slides, so they're gonna come see my slides. So something that I've learned from this book, and also just in my years of teaching experience, is to be really clear about who you're teaching first. So things to consider are, is this a group of dancers? Are they movers? Or is this like a general audience, like you just get asked to do a gig somewhere? What is the level or experience of the dancers? Age and attention span. A rule of thumb I know that public school educators use for attention span is like, I think 1 minute per year. So if they're 5 years old, they have a 5-minute attention span, and that's like max, the highest level at a time, right? So you do instruction for 5 minutes and then an activity. That's just, I don't know if that's actually true, but I know that that's what public school teachers in my community use. And then also think about physical considerations, like, are you going to a retirement center where people are going to be in chairs? Then you'd want to do a chair dance. Or are there going to be kids with special needs? Or are there kids with special needs who have an aid? All those kinds of things to just think about. Probably you have had the experience like I have, where I think, oh, I'm going to teach this dance, I'm doing this one thing, and I think that it's great, but I didn't really think through the ages of the people or really think through those considerations. And I get there and I'm like, oh, whoa, we cannot do this dance. Like, I have to change my plan. So it's nice to think about that first, and then just get really clear on your goals or desired outcomes for either the teaching session or your program. Something that we're trying to do and learning to do and striving to do at ADAC and IDAC is to offer, like, promote shared values. So our core values we try to weave into all of our classes. So that has to be from your heart. So as you're teaching, like, what are your core values, and what do you want the desired outcome to be for your students, either in a one-time teaching gig or a workshop or a program that you're creating. And I think once you have the desired outcome, then you can go backwards from there to really think about it. So I just gave some ideas here, and that kind of helps you make a plan. Any comments, questions? Maybe you're like, this is basic, I already know. But this is how my mind works. So I just want to go into some best practices for teaching cultural dance. So the first thing, especially when you're in a public school setting or a setting where it's not your own students that you know really well, always set clear expectations and establish a culture of respect. So these are the expectations that I use in public school. You find ones that work for you, but these work for me. So be present. We talk about what that means to be present, and that's, I think, a gift that comes with dancing, because it's really hard to not be present while you're at dance. Some people do it, but we want to encourage them to be present, and be open-minded. That's a hard concept for even adults, but especially for kids. So we talk about what that means. I wish I had, guys, sorry to just pause, but I'm wondering on timing. Did anyone know what time we started? I just could talk about this for like 4 hours, and I'm pretty sure y'all don't want to listen to me for 4 hours. So
You started around 11:50, so you've been speaking for about 15 minutes.
you are so patient, guys. Okay. I won't go through every single thing. I think I may be over prepared. And please speak up if you have something to add. Be safe with yourself and others, to me, means not only physically safe, but I talk about this is where the respect comes in. Being safe with yourself and others means being respectful of other people's feelings. A lot of times in public school, like last week we were doing an Indian dance, and there are kids who are Indian in the class. So I try to make the environment like we want to keep everyone safe, everyone's feelings. You don't know what people's cultural backgrounds are. You can't actually tell, even though people try to, from what they look like. And so just establishing this, like, we are going to be respectful of everyone. And then I always tell them if they do the first three things, then it equals having fun. Because when you're present and you're not worried about being self-conscious and you're just in the moment and you're ready to learn with an open mind and open to new possibilities, and you're safe, you can't help but have fun. So that's like my magic recipe, especially for kids. Obviously with teaching adults, most of the stuff would be a given, but you could include just some type of expectations. For kids especially, and adults, I think it's really important to try to, our goal as an organization in IDAC is to try to acknowledge every kid, every class. It doesn't mean you have to have a conversation with every kid, but just folk dance tells us, I see you, I see your culture, I see your traditions, I appreciate you. And so in a little microcosm, just in our classes, try to have that moment where you're connecting with that kid, even if it's just a smile, eye contact, high five. In some of my slides, I put a reflection question. So these are questions that I ask myself, and maybe they'll help you. So how can I help each student feel connected? They want to be connected to you as an instructor, and then also to the other kids in the class. So we do a team cheer at the end of every class, at least with all of our littles. Our teenagers sometimes, maybe they're too cool for a team cheer. Maybe they're not. Maybe we need to do a team cheer. We're gonna work on it. And then the first thing, you probably already know this, but you're going to begin with cultural context. So I think that's really helpful, especially for a group of dancers who aren't folk dancers. They're like, what is this? And I think that helps them understand why we're doing what we're doing. And it also helps with more advanced dancers, having them know a story behind it or the spirit or feeling of the dance, I think definitely helps them achieve a better sense of the styling of the dance. So that's really helpful. I know for me, it's a lot easier to dance when I know the story or have a story. Any questions, comments, suggestions?
I completely agree, Alex. Learning about different countries is so fun at the beginning because then you can teach and the kids know where this is coming from. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Jillian. Okay, if I don't see something, just tell me if I don't see something in a chat. Okay, so the next kind of thing to think about is modeling. Oh, Twyla came, yay! Now we're here. Hi, Twyla. So modeling cultural appreciation, or it could be also called cultural respect versus appropriation. So the first thing that I'm really proud of for IDAC, especially because we're a small community group, is to seek Native practitioners and guest artists. So we really, really strive to, if it's at all possible, to have a guest teacher or a Native practitioner. So something that I try to do is to reach out to people in the community. Sometimes I've talked to other folk dance teachers and they're like, I don't know, where am I going to find someone like this? But I have just found, I first start with my students and their families and then just ask around. Like you could ask at a restaurant. There's a Peruvian store in downtown Sacramento. So if you really look in your community, it's a blessing, I think, in America that we have so much diversity in our communities. Even when we feel like, oh, I don't feel like this is a very diverse community, but when we start talking to people and maybe getting out of our normal circles and normal comfort zones, talk to the people at pickup if you have kids or just anywhere at the grocery store, and share about what you're doing, you can make connections. So this is a picture of Suki. She's the mom of Nihal. He's in my dance group, and I knew that they were Indian and from Punjab, but I didn't know that they had a connection to Bhangra. And so now Suki has been like my biggest champion, and she told me we started this program at their school, and she said we did not have representation in the Indian community at Sierra Elementary until you came and started doing folk dance. That was really powerful for me, and now she comes and helps in class at IDAC. It's really, really cool. And I found that when you seek Native voices who are teaching their own thing, they're so happy that when you use your dance teacher kind of, I don't want to say platform because I don't feel like it's kind of a platform, but when you use being a dance teacher to advocate for them or to give recognition, it makes people so happy, and they're really happy to help you and partner with you. So I've just had so much success and so many stories that I could tell, but we don't have enough time. But I just encourage you to do that. I know it's a challenge, but I think that it really helps. Even during COVID in 2021, we would sometimes have someone come on Zoom just to talk to the kids if that was the only thing that worked, and just helps them to learn some words from the language or whatever. A lot of times in our program, we recognize that person, even if they're not a dancer, but they know about the culture that sometimes I meet people from a different culture. Maybe you've had this experience. I'm like, hey, I've done Bulgarian dance, and they tell me, I'm Bulgarian, but I don't dance. You probably know more Bulgarian dance than me. But they're really happy to talk about and share about their culture. So that's something that you can do too, is just find people from that community in your community, and they can be a consultant even if they're not helping with the dance. And then use technology. So FaceTime, Zoom, whatever. Even Ephraim helped us with the choreography for our Veracruz number. It wasn't possible for our schedules for me to fly him out. So we've sent videos back and forth, and that's been really helpful. And it makes me feel better that I'm checking in with someone who's a native voice teaching within their own culture. And I feel like I'm appropriately representing their culture. More on this. You probably know this, but just make sure that you're teaching not from just, I'm going to find this random dance from YouTube, and that you're acknowledging living cultures. I think that's a really important thing too, as we're teaching folk dance, just acknowledge people that are actually doing this in the world now, or also saying, hey, this is, Amy and I were teaching Bhangra the other day, and I shared this exact dance is not going to be done at a Punjabi wedding. It's some common Bhangra steps that's put together. So just being real with the students about the dance and appropriately representing it. So the reflection question is, am I teaching this dance as a living tradition and not a stereotype? So just sharing. Sometimes there are teachers from the same culture that do a step 3 different ways. So also acknowledging that there's so much variance within art, and not being married to, we do this exact step this way, because you could pull 10 people from Puerto Rico and they might all do the same step a little bit differently. Any comments, questions? I'll keep going. I want to dance too, so I want to make sure that we have time. Okay, so create inclusive and curious spaces. A few years ago, we started to do a Ukrainian dance, and I brought the costumes in for the students to try on, and one of my darling students was like, that's weird. We're going to wear that? She was just so surprised. And so I use that moment to say, okay, let's take a step back. This is interesting. This is different from something. You've never worn something like this before. It's really interesting. Let's think about what it means and how this might be perceived from someone from that culture. And it opened up the opportunity to have that conversation. And now that student loves this type of dance and feels like this is my most favorite cultural dress to wear. I love this dance. I feel beautiful doing it. So I think just taking feedback from students and then helping frame it in a way that is more respectful. It wasn't Sophie. She's right here with me. I'll just tell you that. Sophie has never said that's weird. In school, I like to tell kids to observe. We watch videos sometimes so they can get a feeling of what the dance is like. So I tell them to observe dance like a scientist. So they're just making observations and not judgments. Is this fast or slow? What types of shapes do they use? All those types of things, using the elements of dance to describe a dance rather than placing a judgment. So we're not using words like, that's weird. It's my least favorite word. And then framing all cultures as equally valuable. So not saying this culture, sometimes implicitly we do that from different cultural practices, but just sharing in a way that helps people be curious and affirms the humanity in all cultures in the world. And then inviting students to share from their lived experiences. We had this cute Punjabi student that was there when we were teaching Bhangra, and he was so excited in 5th grade to tell us that he has a turban and he gets to wear it when he goes to weddings and special occasions. And his normal VAPA teacher, VAPA in California, I don't know about other states, but it's a visual and performing arts. His VAPA teacher told us how happy he was and that she's never seen him just light up like that in class. So being able to share a dance from his culture and letting him share about his cultural dress, it made his day and honestly made our day. So I wish for those experiences for you too as you're teaching. Any questions on this? Yay!
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when it comes to like the history of these cultures, so much of their history can be like has been impacted by politics and war and things like that. And in a lot of countries, the dance reflects that history. So I'm wondering how you balance that with and still keep it separate from politics when it's part of the history of the country.
Yeah, so that's probably a confusing thing that I wrote right there. So, okay, let me think about how to respond to that. So I 100% want to be honest about things like that. So I try to I don't sugarcoat things with the students when we're talking about dances from wherever, African diaspora, like these were people who were enslaved and then their dances impacted these dances, and this is how we get those movements. In fact, I'm going to talk about that today. In what I meant in this context is depending on the student, sometimes they're hearing, and this is especially in public school that I've experienced this, different students from different ethnic groups are hearing like, this group is bad, or this group is whatever. And so my goal for them is saying that maybe your family doesn't agree with these current politics, but learning about this culture is still valuable, if that makes sense. So definitely teach the history, definitely be honest about any of the like touchy points. I think it's important to be honest and honor the history because that does affect the dance. And at the same time, empowering kids to know like there are children all over the world that come from all of these different cultures and their dances are beautiful and they're worth sharing, even if we don't agree with whatever is happening in politics of the day.
Thank you.
Do you agree with that? Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes. I think there's a difference between the history and also current events and current disagreements and differences. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, 100%. I just know that like when the war was first breaking out with Russia and Ukraine, before that even happened, I had like been teaching a Russian dance and I thought like this is valuable for dance technique, it's character ballet, this is important. And a student was like, Russia is bad, why are we doing a Russian dance? And so I really had to reflect about this and explain to them like this is separate. I don't agree with what is happening with this war. We had already started this semester of dance. We're already like midway through the semester when this happened. And so that was a time when I had to say like, yes, we don't agree with what's happening politically. But yes, there are also innocent children in countries who are doing bad things or, you know what I mean, who are making political decisions that we don't agree with, like starting wars that we absolutely abhor. But there are still children within those cultures that perform these dances. And I don't think that we should squash out every single dance when we don't agree with the political climate. But that's definitely a challenge because I also don't want to represent a dance and have someone think it's being a political statement. So that's really hard too. We stay politically neutral at IDAC and just like always say in every show, like, we affirm the beauty and the value of all human life and cultures around the world. So.
I just wanted to share real quick. Tori put something in the chat that I thought was really beautiful, but she just said, no matter the history or the current situation of a culture, each person and culture is equally valuable and can enrich our knowledge. So
yes.
I would...
Thank you, Tori. I wish I saw, I'm sorry I didn't see that. I'm going to save the chat after. I don't know how to see it from right now. I 100% agree. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love that. I wish we could all be in person and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and have this amazing discussion. You're all invited to Roseville. Sleep over at my house. Okay, so here's some practical tips. We could go seriously on and on about representation and all of the things we were just talking about, and I love delving into that. But here's some also practical tips that help me. Some of them you know, and some of them maybe you can try. So scaffolding and teaching in layers. So you can't always, you scaffold in different ways based on your ultimate goal. So when you really get clear about your goals, you're gonna know what kind of techniques to use. So for example, if I'm doing a choreography with my students that's more complex and I have 13 or 14 weeks before a show, I always teach the hardest section first, even if it's not in the chronological section of the choreographed dance, or even if it's like a rec dance and I want them to have more time in the session to be able to practice that step. That might be opposite to some people. Sometimes we just start with the very, very basics, but in my brain, I want them to have more practice time. So I introduce that step knowing, especially in a semester-long class, I introduce that step very first, knowing that it's going to take them 8 weeks to practice this step and get it to be good. In an elementary school setting, usually I start with rhythm. So just clapping out the rhythm or singing the rhythm. I like to teach in chunks and then seal the chunks together. So they really solidly know part A, and then we work on the transition to part B. There's call and response. Miss Amy's really good at that. We do that in clogging a lot, or percussive footwork. You go, I go, or even without percussive footwork. And then really training them to first watch, then do, and training them to observe with their eyes, because I feel like and every student learns differently, but sometimes they're like, explain exactly how to do this. I'm like, well, you would understand better first if you watch. Then I can explain, but training them to use their eyes first. And then sometimes I stand in the mirror and we just stand for a second. We're working on this with our Mexican arms the other day for La Bamba, and I demonstrate the arms, and I'm like, okay, you match it. They're still not looking at themselves. Okay, you match it. Make your fingers look like my fingers. Make your elbows look like my elbows. And then if that's really, really difficult, then I will go and help their bodies. I love to sing the steps. That's like my most favorite thing. And I feel like for children, especially, I mean, even my teenagers, I feel like I sing the steps, I sing the rhythm, I make them go with the music, and it's the best I've found for me technique that helps them remember the dances. It certainly helps me remember the dances. And I tend to teach and then just forget what I taught. So that definitely helps. Do you guys thumbs up if you sing the steps? Do you sing the steps? I think it helps so much. Even if you're doing footwork and you're like, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-dum, whatever it is, like have them know that and know it in time with the music. Because otherwise for younger kids, they're just like fishing in their brain. Counts are not always, kids that don't grow up doing ballet or something like a really strict discipline where you're only using counts or the teacher is mostly using counts, it's not going to stick in their brain. So I think making a song, I even make my daughter Grace like sing me her steps. I'm like, I don't care if you're tired, just sing me your steps because you don't have to do anything but sing. And then I know she knows her dances. For younger kids and even teenagers, just make it magical. So yeah, I think that's kind of self-explanatory, but when you bring enthusiasm and love, storytelling, they see the twinkle in your eye and it makes it magical for them. And that helps them see the magic and beauty of folk dance. I also like to use visual aids. I don't do it all the time, but visual aids are amazing in dance because a lot of people learn differently and very few teachers actually use visual aids. But I was teaching an adult class a few weeks ago as a sub, and I was like, wow, I don't usually teach this class, so I need a visual aid. But also the students in the class remarked that they liked the visual aid. So it's a double help. You get to remember your steps and they get to see it. So I did that today. I'm going to share. I have a few things to share. So I don't know. You could just cut me right on off when we're done. But it's literally like not that exciting. But I just wrote down part A, part B, part C. And it's going to help me not feel like a ding dong if I forget the steps. And it's going to help my visual learners or people who want to connect words to the chunks see that. Yeah, anything that has worked for you? What are your best teaching tips?
At least for me, especially like when I teach like Filipino dance, a lot of Filipino dance mimics. And so like we mimic a bird or we mimic things. And so talking about, okay, well, this is like the bird floating or bobbing on the water, right? And it helps the students think, oh, styling wise, I should be bobbing up and down too, like I'm on the water. So kind of I'm a visual learner in that way, where if people compare the movement to another movement, like if we're fishing or our lines are supposed to be like we're threading like a thread or something, it helps me as well as I think helps my students. But
I love that. Thanks, Tana. That's so helpful. And that also makes it magical, especially for younger students. It's so helpful to have that visual and then to be able to interpret that with your body. Thank you. This is so fun. We need to have an in-person COF meetup. I'm ready. Okay, a few more practical tips. Redirection. We need this even with adults sometimes. So I like to first, from a positive perspective, say what you want to see. It's like, show me your long pointed toes. Show me your ankles like stretching all the way. Show me the energy coming out of your fingers. Or sometimes with little kids, I'm like, okay, I'm looking for who's using their plie or whatever. So you can make it fun and silly with them. I think using humor sometimes actually helps the redirection. Sometimes I also say, if you're going to a show and you're going to pay for a ticket, do you want to see it like this or do you want to see it like this? And then I do a really bad version and a good version, and they think it's so silly and funny. And sometimes they're like, we did it like that. And I'm like, I'm just exaggerating, but I think it helps them see. I also love to say, I'm noticing. So that's just a really easy way to not say, you shouldn't do this, because that's harder to hear. We can say, I'm noticing this, and what I really want to see is this. And then it keeps the environment really positive. Love, love, love having kids perform for each other. And then I usually tell them, what are two things that, if we do it in a group, I have half of them sit down and then say, okay, what are 2 or 3 things that this group did such a good job at? And then what are 2 things that they could do better? And what did you notice? Who was doing this? And it's so fun for them to help each other. And it also gives them the opportunity to learn how to watch dance. So then when they're watching themselves in the mirror, they can be a better dancer. So it's training that observing and also giving positive and constructive feedback, which is a really good life skill to have anyways, even if you're just doing whatever job or being a parent or being a human. And then praising effort and teamwork. I love when people are working together as a team, or when I see older students helping younger students. So that's something I love to praise. And then just love your students. That's the biggest takeaway. When you love them, they feel good and they want to work hard, and it just creates that good environment. Okay, so tell me what your best teaching tips are. Or what are some challenges that you face when teaching cultural dance? Practical challenges, or like kind of like theoretical, or things that are in your brain are like, oh, this is difficult. I know what mine are. I want to hear what yours are.
I have one thing I like to use with kids. Just give them positive reinforcement and some individual feedback. I like to see, if I see a student doing really well, I'll be like, wow, so and so has great arms. And then everyone's suddenly thinking about their arms. They're like, oh, I want to have great arms. Or I love how so and so is smiling. And so everyone else starts smiling.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree, Tori. Something that I was doing yesterday was doing the mimicking thing. So I do a step, you do a step. I clap it out, you clap it out. And then because of Alex, I've been singing some of my footwork now. And it's been really helpful for many of the students that don't quite understand the rhythms. So it's great.
Yeah, thank you. Those are both really amazing tips. Thank you for sharing that. What about challenges? Do you have any challenges that you've experienced thus far, or maybe challenges you anticipate in your cultural dance teaching journey? I'll let you think. I'll share a challenge. Oh, Tana, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think sometimes a challenge of mine is especially when I'm asked to go teach like more middle school age teenagers. Um, how like I've been asked the question by a teenager before, like, why is this important? Why am I wasting my time here? Like they have that mindset. So I guess like how to face that challenge of being like I don't know, approaching that with a teenager, especially like middle school teenagers is a challenge for me. But
Yeah, sixth through eighth grade is really rough. I think that for me, the first step of creating the culture of respect. So for me, it's a lot easier to teach a cultural dance at junior high than it is to teach like jazz or something, because I let them know right away, like how you dance in this class is your representation of another culture, and it's not kind if you're not doing your best job. So it's a lot easier to say, and we could argue also that jazz is a cultural dance. I don't want to ignore the history of jazz, but I think it's an easier hook to legitimize, like, this is important part of your learning because this is modeling respect. This is modeling that you're learning about history. And I love to say, like, your school or your teacher or whatever, this is part of your state standards, and kind of showing them, like, this is established as a part of your curriculum. And doing this in a respectful way is really important. It's not something that you can mess around with, but it is definitely, that's the hardest age group. But I think that it does feel scary. I think junior high is like the scariest group to teach. But I think if you keep I already know that you're so good at this, like, keep your positive self, and no matter if they're rolling their eyes or doing whatever behind you, you're like, this is fun, this is fun. Eventually, I feel like they come along. But if I know when I was a younger teacher, like, and this is like being a differentiated adult, right? Sometimes like someone else's mood can affect you, but if you can get to the point in your life or in your teaching where you can be relatively unaffected by someone else's feedback, you can just stay in your positive zone, and then eventually they come along, or at least some of them come along, and then it feels less personal because you're differentiated from them. You're not depending on their feedback. I know as dancers and performers, like, we love feedback, right? We want you to come to our show and say, you did such a good job, your choreography is beautiful, you performed beautifully. Like, most people who are dancers, like, that's what we like as humans. We want that feedback. That's why we're dancing on a stage. We want that feedback. And so then when you're a teacher, when you transition from being more of a dancer to more of a teacher, your students aren't always going to give you that feedback. So I think that's a hard lesson, and you have to kind of like look for the gems. I think I'm like, okay, what one kid did I touch if it was a really rough class? Like, what was one gem from my class? And just focus on that. Or like, hey, the kids were being crazy and I kept my cool. I think that's important too. Anything else?
I was
Abby.
gonna say, Tan, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm a seventh and eighth grade history teacher. So I teach seventh and eighth graders every single day. I teach them history. I always get the question, why are we learning this? Why is it important? And the very first day of school, when I'm like breaking down, this is what we're learning this year. One of the things I told them, I'm like, historical empathy is like one of the most important things I want you to get out of this class. Even if you can't remember all these facts, what I want them to understand is having empathy for people's past and people's presents, and people who are different than them, have different politics as them or religious beliefs and things like that. So that's something I like to teach, even though it's not dance. That's something really important that I try to teach my middle schoolers, because they definitely don't get that at first, and they definitely need reminders. But that is something I like to emphasize in my class, is having empathy for different people's.
That's super powerful. And I definitely use that as a way to tell them why they need to behave in a certain way or dance in a certain way. Yeah, this is so good. Anything else? One other challenge that I feel like I face with a company that you may face in your life too is just to be able to represent something in a way that you feel is appropriate can sometimes be expensive because you have to pay. Like, I definitely, parents in the program and people in the community sometimes volunteer their time, but as an artist, like, I believe in paying artists. And so that's challenging if you're always looking for native voices and you do believe in paying artists, that's just an expense. Also, costuming, if you want to represent something appropriately, that's an expense. So to me, that's one of the biggest challenges in doing any type of cultural dance program in a way that's really respectful, authentic, and appropriate, is just that costs money and time. So it's a challenge we're working on with grants and hopefully with people in our community, just showing them that the good that we're doing in the community, and hopefully we'll have more financial backers and support as we go. Okay. So this is just my cheering you on. You inspire unity. So as you go out and you're teaching, even like Abby said, even if it's not cultural dance, but as you're the type of person that is inspiring people with your knowledge and teaching of culture, you're a bridge builder and a bridge maker between cultures, communities, even times in history, like you're talking about historical empathy. So I just want to empower you to go out there and be in your community, be in circles that you're not used to being in, because that's how you can be a bridge builder. If you stay in your same circle all the time with the same people that believe exactly the same as you do, that's not creating unity. But as you go outside of your circle and connect with more people who are different cultures or different races or different whatever, any type of different thought patterns, that's how we create and inspire unity. So that's my challenge. And you can do that. You can do that with your dance teaching. That's something that when people come to dance class or an event that you do, they don't have to subscribe to they could be from any different culture and don't have to subscribe to any type of social norms, just come and dance together. And that's like a service that you're offering, like just come as you are, learn the dance, and that's a really unifying experience. So go team, you're gonna go out there and do great things. So I have a couple just quick things. I know we all know this dance. But I just wanted to share because it's October and you might be asked to teach something for Oktoberfest. So I'm just going to show 3 ways that I modify this dance so that if you're teaching families, little kids cannot do this dance, not at the tempo that the music's in. But I have adapted it so that it can be taught at preschool or kindergarten, up to adults or good dancers. And I feel like it's a really fun, it's pretty well known, but it's a really fun dance that can be adapted for a lot of people. So I'll just scoot back so you can see. I'm just getting the tape from my things. So the first thing I talk about is that it's a waltz rhythm. So what does that mean? It's 1, 2, 3. So you can have them just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just to clap out the pattern. So little kids like, can you count to 3? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now let's clap our knees. 1, 2, 3, clap your hands. 1, 2, 3. So then we practice just that with the music. And that is even hard if you're 3 or 4. It's hard to do 1, 2, 3. So if I'm teaching in a group setting that has little kids to grandparents, we start, okay, this is the Hammerschmiedgesellen 1.0. And we do clap your knees, clap your friend, clap your knees, clap your friend, just like that. And I sing it to them 1,000,000 times so they know the waltz rhythm, and it goes like that. They're not actually clapping their knees, obviously, but it's easier. For me, it's easier to say clap your knees than clap your legs because it's hard to say legs from the back of your throat. So that's 1.0. You don't even have to have a square. You can just do it with a partner because sometimes it's like, oh, there's not 4 people and there's just all these challenges. So if I'm teaching at something and I want to just get people dancing, like that's the first thing, 1.0. Okay, we did that. And then 2.0, now we can get into a square if you want, and we can just do knees, shoulders, clap. 1, 2, 3. Knees, shoulders, clap. 1, 2, 3. More people can handle, oops, I can't even do it. More people can handle knees, shoulders, clap. 1, 2, 3. And they're going to be super pumped about that. And then we just step hop in our circle. And then like 3.0 is knees, shoulders, clap, right, left together, knees, shoulders, clap, right, left together. And then 4.0 is when you add the spins. So I just wanted to share that. I'm just looking at time because I'm just talking your ears off. You're falling asleep. You're getting gray waiting for me to get done. And it says I'm raising my hand because I put my hands up. I don't know how to make the sensor go away. So that's 3 ways you can use that. Has anyone taught this dance before? Have you broken it down in the same way?
No, I love how you clapped out the waltz rhythm because even with like young adults that I've taught this dance to, they don't really quite understand a waltz rhythm, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so I love that like singing and clapping it with them. That like was so helpful. I'm like making a mental note of it.
Yay, I'm so glad that was helpful. I want to unraise my hand. Lower my hand. It's going to keep saying that I'm raising my hand. Okay, we'll move on from that. But that's just a fun thing for this month or whenever. I had a friend who would always, do it on someone's birthday. So there you go. And then we're going to do a little bit of bomba today. We do this piece in our show. These are pictures. Last year we went to New York City, and we kind of focused on Puerto Rican culture and Ukrainian culture. So we met with a group, which we should contact them. They should be in CIAF USA. It's Los Pleneros de Levante Uno. They're just dedicated to preserving Puerto Rican culture through bomba, and the people who are in charge, it's really cool. It's like their parents, their grandparents did this. They're excellent musicians and dancers, and they kind of do what I do, but with just Puerto Rican music and dance, and they go around to schools and performances in the community. Just a really, really cool group. And New York has more Puerto Ricans than California, I think. At least the culture is more prevalent. And so we did a workshop with them at Pearl Studios and learned a bunch of steps. And then my drumming teacher, Miss Olivia, her mom is from the Caribbean, so she does all kinds of Afro-Caribbean dances, and this has a lot of Afro roots. So Olivia and I together kind of choreographed this dance. So this is not like a rec folk dance, it's just a little bit of our choreo, but I thought it would be fun to move. One of my current interests is just dances affected by African diaspora. So bomba fits in that, clogging fits in that, tap fits in that. That's just like a personal interest. So I'm going to get out my cheat sheets so I don't forget what I'm teaching you. Because sometimes if you're teaching a lot of dances, I have like a billion years of dances in my brain and like 20 currently. So you need to have a cheat sheet sometimes. Do you guys want to dance? Do you want to get up? I feel like I'm just getting like stiff sitting here. That's because I'm old and you're young. But we're gonna,
Alex. We don't have too much time, so
okay.
We would love to dance though.
Okay,
So.
we'll go really fast. Thank you for Jillian's just keeping me honest. Okay, so we'll go really fast. Something that I thought was really cool from our workshop is that they talked about in the movement that people who were enslaved would dance like their African movements, but then they would also be mimicking the European colonizers or settlers. And so some of the movements, one of the curtsies that they did, the teacher specifically in New York was like, yeah, this isn't because we put a curtsy in our dance, this is us like making fun of these settlers. So I thought that was interesting that came down through the dance. So we're just gonna start. You wanna put on a skirt?
Yeah.
Do you want a skirt? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have Amy and Sophie put on the skirts because it's nice if you have a folk dance skirt. And we're gonna just walk in a circle to our right for 8 counts and making our skirt swing as we go. Yeah, okay, here we go. Walking to your right. 5, 6, ready, walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're gonna walk to the left in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're probably doing opposite me because I'm not reversing it. Okay, now we're gonna turn to the left. So we're gonna do like a chaîné turn, but we're gonna keep our skirt up, like holding our skirt the whole time. So we're gonna turn to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're gonna step out to the right. Here's our big curtsy. So we're really like So this is our teacher in New York was like, this is like a step they're like making fun of colonists. Like, look at us. Here we are. Okay, now I'm gonna use my cheat sheet. And we're gonna start to the left on our shimmies. We have our skirts up and we're gonna go left and a little shimmy, step right, little shimmy, step left, little shimmy. We're gonna cross our right foot. I don't know if we can you see our feet?
Probably the table.
You're gonna cross, I'm gonna just turn this way for a second. So you're gonna go cross right out, and then bring your arms and your skirt in and do bounce, 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 bounce. And Miss Olivia would like pull up her skirt a little bit, so you're seeing a little leg and a little Lolita bloomers. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna, part one is walking to the right for 8 counts, walk to the left for 8 counts, shinny left, curtsy, and then we start our shimmy. So do it with me, I'll call you through it. Walking right, 5, 6, ready, walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now walk to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now turn to the left. Turn 2, 3, 4. Curtsy 2, 3. Did I forget my own dance? Okay, now we start to the left. We just curtsied. We're gonna start left, left and shimmy, shimmy, right and shimmy, shimmy, left and shimmy, shimmy, cross, out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay, let's try just that. Am I time out? Am I getting the gong, Jillian? Just tell me when my gong is.
Let's do it one more time and then we'll close it out.
Okay, sounds so good. Here we go. If I mess it up, you're just gonna watch Amy and Sophie. You're gonna watch Sophie. Oops. Walk. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to left. Walk. 2, 3, 5, 6. Turn left now. Turn 2, 3, 4. Curtsy down. Left.
Yo te traigo esa bomba,
Right. Shimmy, shimmy, left.
esa bomba puertorriqueña.
Out. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo te la traigo de Cupey, de Vega Baja y de Santurce.
Yay!
That was wonderful. I love that dance, Alex.
It's so fun. It's so fun. There's lots more steps, so just research some bomba.
Perfect. Well, are there any questions for Alex?
Crickets.
We are so grateful for you, Alex. Thank you for taking your time and sharing your talents with us. You are a phenomenal dancer, phenomenal teacher, and cultural advocate, and we appreciate all that you've done. So thank you so much. And we hope that everyone enjoyed our implementing cultural dance today. And
Thank
yes,
you so much.
this is Alex's website and her information, so please reach out to her. And any final words, Alex?
No, I just want to empower you to go be a peacemaker in your community and let dance be the medium you do it with. That's why we're all here, so let's go.
Thank you so much. And thanks
Thank
everyone for
you.
joining.